from Poison Rock, and it's my pleasure to have with us this evening, because it's evening, Jakob from the Mercenary. I want to ask you, first of all, how are you? I mean, the easiest question ever.
Who I am? Mercenary is one of the oldest melodic metal bands from Denmark
Yeah.
in the harder part of the spectrum. And my name is Jakob, and I play guitar in Mercenary, and I've played since '95. So yeah.
So you joined
Um,
later on, but let's say that you have a lot of studio albums released full length. Maybe
yeah.
the first full length you were there since First Breath.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you started up. You know your stuff. That's right. Yes, I joined the band like after the early demo days, and we
Yeah.
started when I joined. We started writing the debut album, and we've had many changes in the band since then. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've stuck through it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, and of course,
8 albums now.
yeah, because I mean, joining the band like at at the moment when they start to releasing the first full length, it's a kind of like, okay, I'm joining at the right time. Like it was the
Hmm.
right time to join. But of course, because before digging about, I don't know, the last album and the super upcoming tour, because it's kind of, let's say, in a couple of days.
Yeah,
I mean, the day after tomorrow is the first.
it's the day after tomorrow. We have
Yeah.
the first show in Hamburg. Yeah.
Hamburg, yeah. So I would like to ask you a little bit about your musical background, Jakob. Like, of
Hmm.
course, like the young Jakob, how as a child, you get in touch with music. I mean,
Okay.
just a little bit to creating a kind of background.
Yeah, so my musical upbringing started in basically in the 90s when I was like 13, 14 and started to develop a taste of music by myself, and we would tape trade. We would do, trade
Okay.
illegal copies of cassette tapes in my school, and we started out quite softly with hard rock like Wasp or Def Leppard, stuff like that. And then we were just like 4 or 5 boys spurring each other on and like trying to see who could find the hardest stuff. And we would go to
Like,
Halloween, like power metal, not really that
yeah,
hard. But then we found King Diamond, kind of like power metal, but something else. Iron Maiden, and
yeah,
then it went on into Metallica, Slayer, and we discovered death metal like
yeah.
death, spiritual healing, and obituary, and um, so in a quite in only like 2 3 years, I went through a lot of
Genre.
the whole metallic subgenre spectrum
Yeah.
back then, and was super absorbed by it all, and I picked up a guitar from a used guitar from one of my friends and just wanted to learn all these amazing guitar parts,
Yeah.
all this, try to capture some of all that energy and melody that went on through all these amazing albums from the early 90s. But yeah, that sort of got me going, and I wanted to find my own band. And I had some local like demo bands before. It turned out there's a friend of mine who was a stand-in for Mercenary back then.
Yeah.
Back then, they were also a demo band, and I got the spot like for an audition, and I had learned to play the whole of that demo tape domicile, and
Yeah.
so that got me the spot in Mercenary back in '95.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of a
Yeah.
compressed
Journey.
probably 5 6 year history.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like you mentioned, like you were picking up the guitar of your friend, and of course, as a guitarist,
Mm.
growing up, and especially learning from all these
Yeah.
musicians, there was some guitarists or some, I don't know, even riff or some in some albums, or that like you thought that was like your way that like to play guitar, because I don't know, on that
Hmm.
album there is that riff or that song or that guitarist they're keeping going.
Yeah. I it was definitely Metallica and Slayer, like a lot of the early 80s material that really, that's where I started to play guitar, but especially actually Megadeth, because they were very subtle in their riffing. They were, very technical for their time, and stood out for me. And I think if you go through our albums, you can really discover some Megadeth influences here and there, like in the way of the guitar chromatic third harmonics, if to be a bit technical, that's definitely that's definitely a band that I've took very close to my heart and followed for forever. So if we fast forward a bit, I can't not mention that it was really a highlight when we did 5 support shows for Megadeth back in the late 10s. That was really mind blowing.
Yeah, of course, because being a band that, like you mentioned, influenced you a lot, and as well, like, let's say, a little bit the sound of Mercenary here and there in the album. Being Megadeth is something that, I mean, we're always talking to the kind of pillars of the thrash metal. Yeah, of course. And about, like, because of course, like, the last album has been released in 2023. I mean, it's been released recently. She's a soundtrack for the end times, and of course it's a kind of the name soundtrack for the end times kind of seems like almost sad, like, oh, this is the soundtrack to the end of the world. So
in a way, but
a little bit about that, the meaning of the full length itself.
It's not really meant to be like the soundtrack for Doomsday or the Apocalypse. It's more like the end times in an almost biblical sense, that it's the end of the times as we know it. That we've had some belief in the world that things were getting better after the Second World War. We were getting civilized. We were spreading democracy. We were raising, the welfare level overall, and now it seems like it's all just going to shit.
I mean, let's find these. Let's find out in the world these kind of ideals of. I mean, I think you can have some sparks of them, but in the people, I think, not in the government. The people.
No. Exactly, and it's just like this whole idea of progress has really suffered, blows. Also with the rise of right-wing populism in the States and in Europe, and crisis after crisis on every political level. It seems like we've had an era of stability and optimism, and that is definitely ending, and no one knows what is going to come, right? So it's more like welcome to the age of unpredictability, and
we don't know what is going on tomorrow.
So that's very much that we have to give up all these ideas about who we are, who our national identities are, or what we can rely on. So it's a lot about that change into certainty, and having so why it's also the soundtrack to the end time. So that's of course a way of also saying that art, or what you believe in, what you identify with in terms of music, in terms of art, that can also be something that you can cling on to and use as your bedrock, or give you some sense of shared humanity throughout these violent changes, right?
Because the right word, because I think the last decade, whatever we want to call it, the last moment in history that was a little bit more stable, I think, was the one of our parents, like during the 70s, the 60s. That's it. Maybe because, and then it came soon as the progress started, and now it's even getting scary because it's been announced yesterday or today about the first Neuralink things made by mask, and that's in the human, so in one human, and he said he's recovering really well. So that's the thing that I'm like, what the fuck is going on in the world?
It's getting harder to recognize the world as we used to know it, right?
As we know it.
And things are happening so fast.
And music is supposed to be one of these like rock that you can set music. Everything is gonna change. Music, maybe in some way, I think is gonna change as well. I mean, the distribution changed already, but that's not a problem. But I think there is kind of bad, like some musician or something that they are like, say, looking to the in AI, and but there are bands that they will still keep the rock, because I like, we are we don't embrace that. I mean, but I think that anyway, it always, even if they use AI or whatever they use, that's always the soul of the band. So it is always the rock, and this is a beautiful meaning, because of course, if I read it like the title, like I was telling you, like, you know, not knowing nothing about Mercenary and just reading that, like, which times are ending? It's just like 24 there is ending, or is the it's like, it's beautiful. It's like the world as we know it. And that's true.
And so also the positive aspect of the title is that, well, at least maybe music can, you know, actually give us a connection between human beings, right? Something authentic. There's the possibility of authenticity, at least. But it might be hard to find, you know, it might be hard to establish, it might be hard to hold on to, because of all these changes, because of the rise in technology and all these easy solutions, right? To do all kind of things that our parents would have, that we ourselves would have considered impossible in our youth, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think if even our grandparents, if they, when they were, you know, like teenager, they couldn't even think and imagine that today we would have like really, like, I don't know, just doing interviews even like that, for example. They just could have taken a flight or just waited for the bands to go to the, you know, the concert, the live shows in their own city, and maybe even travel with train instead of airplane. So it's a different whole world. But it, like we said, it always has positive aspect and negative. And one good things about music is that, like you said, it brings people together, no matter where they are spread in the world. It's like kind of some interviews prior, a musician was telling me, like, music is maybe the only language that we all understand. So there's
some truth to that.
And of course, I mean, since you are present in the band since the first album, First Breath, I mean, there are so many albums since 1998 until 2023. It's more than a decade, 15 years of music. And of course, if we go through, I mean, each album, we will probably be here until midnight just to analyze. But I just wanted to ask, like, briefly, especially in the sound, especially being a guitarist, and do you think has changed? So in this case, sound-wise or technically in the sound and everything, since, for example, First Breath to also to soundtrack. I mean, what has changed? Of course, I think you brought.
Well, to be very brief, I mean, we started, the band actually started as a bit of a slow-paced melodic death metal band on the early demos, and then we went into a more melodic thrash kind of thing on our debut album, and we wanted to keep the melodic strain, but do a bit more of the dark, almost sinister, melancholic aspect. And I think we started to explore that on Everblack and 11 Dreams, right? And then because of the lineup changes and the dynamics with the persons that were in the band, it also got more progressive, more experimental on the following albums, The Hours That Remain and Architect. And Then we had the big lineup change where Renee took the reins as the sole vocalist, and we had a lot of, we needed to do something cathartic because we had a lot of difficulties and disagreements in the band, and we needed just to do something spontaneous on Metamorphosis. And so there's a kind of, every album kind of feeds some dynamic that sets the precedent for the next album, or
let's say that,
like the foundation for the next album, right? But to try to jump ahead to the recent album, that's also very much a reaction from my part on the last album, Through Our Darkest Days, because we actually, with that album, we kind of felt that we had toured a lot with the new lineup, and we did the second album, and we thought we actually managed to prove that we were still a kick-ass band and that we were relevant, and there's a lot of solace in that, or there's a lot of comfort in like, maybe we didn't have a big commercial success, but we felt like we had an artistic success that we managed to survive as a band. We managed to find a new sound and make it relevant. And that, to me, somehow, we made the Through Our Darkest Days album, and it became quite optimistic in that way, and that felt very natural at the time. But for me, still, I missed a bit of the more aggressive style and a bit of the melancholy and the darkness. And I just found out in the years that followed where we had a sort of a natural break, because I had my first kid in 2014, and some of the other guys had kids. And a lot of guys, they mellow out when they establish a family. And start to write more soft material, but it was the opposite for me. Found out if I have to spend time away from my family to keep doing this band, then I really need to make it, connect with what I found to be essential in our sound. And that was the heaviness, that the simple fact that you can headbang to the songs, that it's melancholic, that it's not only the body but it's also your heart, right? And to kind of go a bit back to some of the melancholy from Everblack and 11 Dreams, but kind of push it into a modern sound, and maybe people notice there's a bit of influence from like Gojira and Lamb of God, or maybe Trivium. Not much, but just, not going backwards sound-wise, but taking some of the core of the band and introducing modern elements to play around with it. And so I tried to make it so that like every song would be relevant to play live, because it should be fun to play. And that was that was my mindset going into the writing of the album. So that's kind of a very different place compared to the last few albums.
So basically, let's say that this kind of years that let's say you take a rest, a break, you take a pause, just to live your life. Everyone living your life. Just as to give you the new influences from the contemporary music
I think so.
To absorb it and let's say put it in the new album.
That's a very well put.
Because of course, music evolves as well. It's not easy to let the music evolve nowadays, but let's say change.
No,
it's not easy. But in any case, it's beautiful seeing that like a band that has established, like you were saying, artistic side, like Mercenary, going back in 1998 with the first album and all this journey, and then take a break and then coming back, because there are bands that they stay attached to their own sound, and they go, like, we keep on doing our own sound. Instead, you embraced, like, okay, we are in 2022, 2023, we have let's see what is going on in the world. Let's like that band, like you were mentioning, Gojira could be even another band. Like, why, I don't know, that's something nice. That's
Yeah,
really beautiful, because show us as well a side of being humble in the band. Like, we don't
yeah,
despite everyone, we'll just embrace everyone.
yeah.
That's beautiful about that. And
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
of course, so we can basically say that in 2023, like, a new chapter started for Mercenary.
I think so. Yeah, I like to think that yet another time we managed to somehow reinvent ourselves, and it
That's
is kind of, I feel like our dynamics have been all over the place throughout the years, because there's always a reaction away from something, or a pull towards something,
It's like,
where we
yeah,
never really felt, let's just do the last album again. We never felt that once, right? It wasn't necessary for us to do something else, and
all,
that might, that can be hard, like a bit difficult to explain to outsiders. But it's,
yeah,
for me, it kind of makes sense that, some Metallica, even though they are millionaires, maybe they wanted Saint Anger to sound like they were kids in a garage. Well, you can't really judge that mindset from the outside, because it,
um,
you know, sometimes that kind of sense, that kind of thing just makes sense from the inside, right? And you have to have
cool.
lived their lives to assess
Yeah.
if it makes sense or not.
Yeah, of course, but in any way, like, being here still today and going on a tour with Eight Sphere shows
Hmm.
that
Yeah,
no matter how years you took for just live your life, you're still, well, we're located in the music scene. Because of course I can understand that pick up everything, pick everyone back and then start.
yeah,
It's not easy, because you have to arrange. You are in. We are what we're gonna to do.
yeah.
But so how? I mean, how was like the first day that, after all, this time, you just, because I don't know if in all these years you guys met and rehearsal sometimes.
Yeah, we actually we met quite a lot, and we
Okay,
didn't plan to have that long a break, but we had
okay,
difficulties finding a drummer. So we had we had a drummer from the other end of the country for like three different drummers for 7 or 8 years, and so progress was very slow.
yeah,
Because it was difficult and expensive to meet up, and we had kids and we got
of
more
course.
kids, and everything just slowed down. And
I mean,
when we started to build some momentum, we found a local drummer and started to write songs, and then the lockdown came, and that was kind of super difficult for us, because I could imagine, maybe if you're super motivated and you're 22 years old and you're just sitting at home and you have a home studio, then you could probably write one or two albums
yeah,
during lockdown, right? But we had to take care of the family, and we had to provide for the family
um,
at the same time. So it was actually, creatively, it was really shitty.
yeah, no, but I
I think
mean,
I made like two drafts for songs during,
but
half a year,
yeah,
maybe at most, right?
like you said,
Yeah,
this apply to, let's say, the most established band
yeah,
in the world, that has been out there since the 80s, the 90s. Of course,
yeah,
they had kind of a little bit of stopped. They maybe tried, a little bit to do some streaming to engage the fans,
yeah,
some interviews like that, to
yeah,
just to say I'm there. But of course, if
yeah,
you
yeah,
are 90, 20, 21, and the main concern you have is playing Twitch or video games or something like
yeah.
that, you can record an entire album, even like you say, two,
No,
three. But of course, if you have your own life, it's different. You have a wife, you have a girlfriend, you have
yeah,
a family, mothers, fathers.
yeah,
That's the life. And sometimes
yeah,
one forget the musician have their own family and life
yeah.
behind it.
So it was very hard to stay focused on the music, but there was no doubt at all that we wanted to make an album, and also uh, it sounds a bit weird to say, but we felt that we needed to write a stronger album than usual, because we've been away for a while. So, and also because of our family situation, we knew that we wouldn't be able to go out and play like tons of tours.
Yeah.
So we felt that we needed to invest as much energy into the quality of the album, and we were hoping that that would pay off. But I don't think commercially that was not a very good idea, actually, because I think if we just put out the same album like every second year for the last 10 years, we will be commercially a much better place than we are today. But for us, it's a project of passion for us, right?
Yes.
So now we have the album out. We are immensely proud of it, and we're really looking forward to start this tour in 2 days, because now we can go out and connect to people. And I think we are co-headlining with Hatesphere, and it's a club tour, and it's a bit of a humble club tour. It's not like stadiums, but we are so much looking forward to it, because we're going out to connect with people who might have been supporting us for 10, 15 years and who haven't forgotten about us.
The younger guys, especially the younger generation, that in that gap of 10 years that, teenager grew up and maybe starting to listen to Soundtrack for the End of Times and say, oh, I like Mercenary. And so they go to see you live, and of course, now it comes spontaneous to me asking you if I'm a new person coming to see you. Of course, I expect, of course, in the set list of the evening of the live, see some of the new song of the new album. But there will be the chance, of course, to even the old fan to see some of the older song being played. Yeah. Okay, so let's say that already you worked on the set list for the evening. For what you can say, we don't want to spoil anything.
No. But we have a good mix of like I don't know if you can say classics, but like important songs that are important to us and for the fans from the albums that shape the band. And we also, that's maybe half the set list, and half of the set list is from the new album, because we are just, dying to get out there and represent it, performing it live.
Yeah, because it's like a comeback, because you've been there in the previous, let's say, until 2013, you were playing, doing live, doing festival, doing shows, and being there among all the other bands that, like you, put all the efforts and love in the music and passion. So now you're just coming back, and I think that for being here doing an interview, and for myself knowing Mercenary, that for being arrived in an island like Sicily, meaning that in these 10 years of silence, let's say, the music still keep on going, because sometimes they put it on the venue, sometimes there is some cover band.
Oh, that's cool.
That it means that you left some kind of love and something in the fund, and this comeback, I think it will be really well seen, especially in the live, because there will be the chance to, of course, see you. And like you were saying, the first city that you're gonna go is like Hamburg, and then you're gonna move throughout Europe. It's kind of a European tour. So the main cities that, let's say country, because cities is going to be too much. Let's say the main country you're going to cover, which are?
Well, it's mainly Germany, and we have shows in Austria, Switzerland, 2 in France. We have Holland and Belgium as well. So it's very much Central Europe. Yeah.
So it's the closer part from that market.
Yeah, and it's also connected to the fact that we kind of need to probe how it is to go out, like how viable is it financially, what's the turnout going to be, and so we'll just need to figure things out, year by year and tour by tour, now that we are coming back, And also because of the whole situation, the unstable situation in Europe, logistics, the prices are just insane now. I think I read that in the US, the cost of a nightliner is maybe 7 times higher than it was 10 years ago, right?
Yesterday evening with the first drummer of King Diamond, Snow. He was explaining to me that basically renting a huge bus in US, for example, it costs like $30,000 plus you have to pay the visa. So for a band going on tour in the like in let's say in the US, it's super expensive if they don't have if they don't sell the tickets of the show.
Exactly. Yeah.
And said by someone that basically tour with all the most famous band in the world, I can. But like Denmark is well located as a country, and I'm saying, and especially musically, in the last. And I'm seeing in the last couple of 10 years, and maybe you can take a look to this band because, of course, being from the previous generation of, let's say, thrash death metal, you can that band. There are these new bands that are that's why I'm saying that Denmark is putting out there the most amazing new band like Plague Maze. Amazing. They are fresh, they are new, and so Denmark is a country that musically, and I think there is a lot to give, and especially like it's really of course it's hard to do a tour, but it's better than do it from Sicily, believe me.
I could imagine. Yes.
For me, going on some tours to see some live, I don't go to in Italy. I go straight forward. It's easier to go to Copenhagen.
Okay, wow.
So I'm an island. I have to go, for example, in Milan, it's at €300. I have to go even in I don't know, Helsinki, €99, almost 100 or €200 less. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Yeah. So I just wanted to ask as well, like, of course, there's something that of course, there is the tour to focus on. Of course, after all this time, you have to go to touring, live. You have as well some, festival booked for the summer. That's what you can say, of course.
We don't have a lot, actually. We're trying to probe the landscape, and we have some offers that we're working on. But we are also finding it a bit difficult because we've been away for so long. I think we kind of have to prove ourselves, not from the bottom up, but prove that we're here to stay. I think some people might think, well, they spent 10 years making an album. Will they spend another 10 years making the next one? And I definitely don't see any reason why it should take us that long, because now we're kind of working efficiently again, and we're kind of focused on it. But I think we're taking a kind of slow approach, and we'll see what happens. I think like it might also depend on the success of this tour, right? Are people eager or not? Plus, I think it's also hard to get into the festival scene after the whole lockdown years, because so many albums didn't get released. And
and now there is all this releasing and all this band coming back as well.
There's so much coming out, and so many canceled festivals, and the spillover is still, kind of in effect, and everything's been commercially streamlined. There's a lot of, like, Live Nation owns several festivals and so on. It's a very different landscape compared to 10 years ago. So I hope we can wedge ourselves into it right now, but it's kind of it takes some work.
Let's say we'll
see what happens.
This festival and enjoy this tour in Europe, just let's say, and then we will see what happens. Jakob, thank you so much for this interview. It was really a pleasure, and hopefully see you in another live shows, maybe helpful, and have a good rest of the evening, and good luck with everything.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for doing this interview.
It was really a pleasure. Real pleasure. And good luck, and rock on with the Mercenary, and do a lot of handbagging.
That's great.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, and the same to you.
Bye.